Welcome to TigerCast, the College and Career Readiness podcast where you'll learn useful tips that'll help you plan for your future. Today we're joined with our special guest, Retired Sergeant First Class Banks. Before we start our interview, remember to take control of your future by joining the California Army National Guard to serve your community during local and state emergencies. You'll learn marketable skills, earn a paycheck, and get money for school. Contact Sergeant Aquino today at 916-233-7615. So hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions about your military career and what your life looks like now that you're retired. So just my first question is, how did your whole Army career start off? When did you join the Army, and what did that process look like?
Okay, so I joined the Army in 1995. You guys probably weren't even born then.
No.
In 1995, I was going to school, but I was having a hard time finding a job. I lived in Belgium and Europe, and so my parents were complaining that I wasn't doing enough, and so I called a recruiter, didn't tell them, and signed up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how long was your career in the Army?
20 years and 7 days.
Really? And your retired rank was Sergeant First Class?
Yes.
How did you get to that?
In order to get promoted in the Army, there's a process. Most people come in as an E1, and you work your way up the chain, if you will. So E1 to E4 is based on if you're just doing the right thing. And from E5 to E6, you have to go in front of a panel and get recommended for promotion. E7 through E9 is called centralized boards, which means it's all the people who are eligible for those ranks are looked at and then are selected based on merit, what they've accomplished in the Army.
Cool, that's super awesome. And then could you just give us a little summary of what your MOS is and if you were ever deployed?
Sure. So my MOS was a 68 Whiskey, which is a combat medic. So I did my training at Fort Sam, Houston. In order to be a medic, you have to be an EMT, so you take the National Registry. So if you were to just, do your 4 years and get out, at least you have skills to fall back on. I was deployed. I deployed to Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
Cool. So I just had another question too. How come you chose to enlist instead of going the officer route?
So I wasn't ready to go to college. I didn't think I was ready emotionally, mentally, or any of that. And so in order to come in as an officer, you have to go to college. You have to get your degree and then come into college. So when I joined, I didn't think I would do 20 years, but I enlisted, and the benefits are great.
Yeah.
So.
Did you ever consider being a warrant officer?
So, excuse me, there's no warrant officer field for my MOS, and I was very comfortable in my MOS, and so I wasn't willing to essentially learn a whole new trade to become a warrant officer, which is what you do. If you become a warrant officer and they don't have it in your MOS, then you're learning something totally different, and warrant officers are expected to be the subject matter experts for whatever their job is.
Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of people in the Army have multiple MOSs. Did you ever consider that route either?
No, a lot of people who have multiple MOSs is because they enlisted into a job that they didn't realize what the job entailed, right? And so then they decide that they want to do something else. A lot of people actually reclass into the medical fields because the medical fields are transferable skills when you get out. So no, I never thought about changing my MOS.
Cool. And then what did you have to get on the ASVAB to get that MOS?
I don't remember.
Really?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. That test is super hard though, so good to see you. So what is your civilian job now? Is your MOS anything related to it?
Yes. So while I was in, there was 100% tuition assistance was paid. And so I went to school. So even though I was in the Army, had a full-time job, had 2 kids, I still went to school. So I got my degree while I was still in. It's in healthcare management with a focus in healthcare administration. So right now I work for the Department of Healthcare Services, and I'm a manager.
That's crazy. And going to school, did you utilize the GI Bill?
No, because while you're on active duty, you have tuition assistance. And
Cool.
so you don't have to use your GI Bill. I actually transferred my GI Bill to my daughter, and so that's how she's going to school right now.
Cool, that's super cool. So along with tuition assistance, were there any other benefits that the Army provided you with that you've used?
That I've used or that I used while I was still in?
Both.
Both, okay. So while you're in, you don't have to pay for health care. You don't have to pay for dental care. You're issued your uniform, right? So you don't have to worry about a closet.
Yeah.
When you're single, they provide housing, and they have the dining facility for you to eat at. If you have to live off post because you have children or you're married, then they provide a housing stipend and also a food stipend.
Cool. That's super awesome. So I heard a little bit about how you were recognized by Congress. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'm still very active in the community. I'm a huge veteran advocate, but especially for women. Women in general are underserved and underprivileged population. So I'm a part of Women Veterans Alliance, which is a group that was started about 3 years ago with 10 women at El Torito's in Arden. And we have over 1,700 women on our roster right now, just with community outreach, word of mouth, social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So one of my veteran sisters submitted me for a congressional recognition, and so I was recognized for my work in the community with veterans.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for just everything that you do in the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I just have a couple more questions. The last one is there anything that you would change about your military experience?
If I could change something, I probably would have gone back to school earlier, because I waited until the second half of my career to go back to school, which made it harder with 2 kids, and my son was still a baby. So my recommendation to you, especially since you're going in, is as soon as you can, start going to school. The money's there, right? And it's what's important to you, so you have to make that time. But when you're young, you just want to hang out and go party. And if I would have had a mentor or somebody that said, hey, Sevrine, you need to go to school now and put the rest of the stuff aside, because partying's not going to get you anywhere when you're in your 40s, right?
Yeah.
So definitely go to school earlier.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever consider maybe going to the reserves just to finish school?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Was it hard for you though to balance both?
Yes, it was hard, but I was in the Army for 3 years when I had my daughter Alana, and that was my motivating factor.
Yeah.
Healthcare was provided. I was able to put food on the table. So when it's just you, it's different. But when you have somebody else who depends on you, it kind of changes your focus and your motivation to get things done.
Yeah, that's super awesome. And then I just have one more question, and it's, what was your favorite part about your whole entire military career?
My favorite part was the camaraderie and the friendships.
Yeah.
I have, friends that I've been with for 20 years, because we met in basic training and with social media, we've reconnected. So the majority of I call it my inner circle, are women that I served with, right? And so we have that bond, we have that connection. If we're having a bad day, we have a group text, we have, like you guys, social media and all of that
Yeah.
interaction. And so that connection is very, very important to me, especially moving to Sacramento 3 years ago, not knowing anybody, knowing that I still had that support system out there. Yeah, absolutely. So the friendships and the camaraderie.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. That's all the questions I have for you today, but everything you said was totally encouraging, and I hope that the viewers think the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.